exacerbating underlying health issues that my privilege, my education, none of that fixes while we're trying to figure out how to continue to educate our students so we can do this and help them understand the connection between housing. And you can't live in North Nashville anymore? Go on out to Antioch or go across the county line to another county where you have zero franchise. Your vote means nothing. Do we understand that?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out what systems we address, what we fix, what civic venue I go to, what city council that will not be overridden by the state government when they exercise their preemptive powers in a state where my federal vote will never count in this electoral system. No, I didn't learn anything except for the fact that I'm tired and I'm angry. And you said that this is a conversation about where we are with the church. I'm the heathen in the midst of this. I come to understand myself as a pew theologian.
Come on now.
As opposed to pulpit theologians.
We need more.
I come every Sunday waiting to hear what you all tell me, thus saith the Lord, because I don't read any biblical languages. So I have to depend on your interpretation. Then I have to understand what does that mean. So when I go out Monday through Friday, when the rubber hits the road, I know how to translate that. Do you understand? So that's where I am with this. What does this mean? What did I hear? What do we do? And what am I supposed to do with that from the pew to the streets? Trying to figure that out.
In the vein where we're hoping to go in this conversation, because we know that one of the main things that we have to do is we have to stop normalizing bad health for Black people. We have to stop normalizing poor health care policy in Tennessee. We have to stop making it normal for our elected officials not to be held accountable. That's not normal. We have to, we can't normalize poor health outcome. We can't normalize they're not doing anything, so we don't have to. So you're in the vein of where we're hoping to go, and this conversation is a part of a series of conversations that we're hoping to have across the state. One of the issues that we know that exist around health equities is that people are not having the conversations. When we look at the mainstream media, how many of you all have seen these statistics on the news within the last week? Within the last month. So what we know is that the public health emergency is unwinding. And that means that there were hundreds of thousands of people across the state who got health insurance because of the public health emergency. And in January or whenever this public health emergency ends, those people will be losing their health insurance. According to TennCare, it's a little over 340,000 people, I believe. But the numbers could be more. And it's for that reason we should hear these conversations on the news. They should be a part of the mainstream. We should be having these conversations in our congregations and at the dinner table. All right, I'm not going to miss you, Pastor Keith.
Will you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
The question is, did you learn anything from the documentary? And did anything that you see resound with you?
Yeah. Was
anything familiar?
Yeah. So both of your responses have been so powerful and really on target. I think for me personally, there was so much death. Right. I'm Methodist, so we get moved, and I got moved in 2020 to C. Hubbard from Murfreesboro. So I didn't know a lot of the people when we were doing Zoom, and there was like a funeral every week to 10 days. And I would meet a family because someone in their family died, and so I would just go to the first 2 rows at the funeral home and say, I'm the pastor, and the death was it was so senseless. Like these weren't like just elderly people, you think these were people with pre-existing conditions, and black folks, you know, hypertension, all this number of things. And I can remember, like, we couldn't even bury our folks, and the ritual of burial and death, and there's still some communal trauma that's still in the congregation from it, and we haven't begun to address it in any meaningful way. So I'm trying to preach on it, and because what it does, I think, if people need a lot of courage.
Yeah.
The Jesus, so on the thing that we've been given is a Jesus of American civil religion, and not the sacrificial gospel of Jesus Christ, right? And so now we think about a revolutionary who turns over tables in the temple, and I think when we keep our message there, and how do we withdraw consent from these systems that are grinding us to powder on a daily basis, right? It's like boiling a frog slowly, right? And so now we just go ahead and turn up the heat all the way so that at least you would be shocked into jumping out. So it's not really much difference between my personal and professional understanding or experience of that, because I'm saturated. But you think about being here in Nashville, and Reverend Jim Lawson always said that this movement had to happen here. When you think about Tennessee being touched by 8 other states, Nashville being the buckle of the Bible Belt, the Protestant Vatican even, right?
Where the Bibles are made.
Where they're made, right?
Yeah.
And religious publishing being, most of the mainline churches, publishing houses are here. So when you can control the dissemination of sacred text, we can control the hearts and minds of the people, right?
Correct.
And so we always hear about that there were baptized Christians on both sides of the fire hoses, right? And so now, how do you say which Christianity are we going to embrace, right? And how do we live into that faith claim? Because it's easy to say, you know, we see from the Beatitudes about who we are, right? And then by the time of Nicaea is what we believe, right? So we went from doing to just professing something outwardly that doesn't have to have any legs under it. I think that we can make the best out of a perfectly good catastrophe, and that's the hope I keep digging into, because without the hope, you know, what do we have? And this hope is tethered to a hope of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I don't mean to preach here, but you know, I'm a preacher, so and my grandmother and those who
and the God of Fanny and
yes,
Ida.
Right, that's right.
who told me, baby, it's gonna be all right, you know. And so I'm Sandrea, I'm as hopeful as I am disturbed. So that's
So, you know, Dr. Fauci made a comment early in the movie, and people, and you all probably remember in the media when he made the comment that we have known this for years, and there's nothing that we can do about it. You know, and he was referring to the disparities that existed in a number of black people that they knew, or BIPOC people that they knew were going to die as a result of COVID. And our state legislators have largely taken the position that there's nothing that they can do, and that there's nothing that we as a state can do. But at TJC, we believe that there is something that we all should be doing.
right.
And part of the reason we want to have the conversation is to talk about, to hear from, we know that there are several trusted voices in the black community. You know, one are our education, our leaders, our teachers. You know, they are hallmarks and staple in the community.
Her husband, Dr. Hildred. Is
Yeah, I thought you probably had the wrong Hildred for this
No, we
conversation.
got the right deal. He'll have his own panel. But the other trusted voice are those in the faith community. So one of the things that we're hoping to hear tonight is, what should we, as people of faith, you know, what should we be doing? And how can we live out our faith and work to improve health equities and health outcomes? And all of us don't have a pulpit.
Right.
So what can those of us who preach from the pew, what should we be doing? And what should you know, the Bible says that hope deferred makes
The heart grow
sick.
faint.
And, you know, we are all living out the trauma that is the remnants of the COVID-19 pandemic. And every day, we are all being brave and going back into the world of this unknown. And we should be focused on, like, COVID-19, the possibility of this happening again should not be another reality. We shouldn't be planning to see another thousands of people die from a preventable death. So what should we be doing? And I'm going to start.
I already went first.
So I love this question because, as President Forrest Harris will often say, we sit around and talk about things, and I'm like, okay, but what is the work? So what is the work is actually my favorite question
Come on now.
because it actually can always be answered. I mean, there's always some work to do, even if it's a small thing. And I was watching this, asking that question and looking, and there are a few things. I mean, one of the last speakers said, you know, uniform insurance. What does it mean if everybody just had the same insurance? There was one insurance. And let me say this about what is the work. Not all of the work is for everybody to do. We can't all do all of it, and we shouldn't all be doing it. So I'm going to be throwing out some things that may land over here or land over here or land over here, right? But if somebody says, ooh, uniform insurance, and they want to go to business school and work on that, and then come pray on Sunday and listen to your awesome sermons, I think that that's part of the work. How do I use those gifts to figure out an entirely different business model for insurance so that it's not tied to your job or where you go, or that it is everywhere? My father, we eventually brought him from San Francisco Bay Area here for home hospice. But my brother, who was in Portland, Oregon, and I here, commuted for 2 years back and forth every 6 weeks to take care of him before we moved him. Why? Because his Kaiser Permanente insurance was fire. It was doing everything for him, and it does not exist in this market. Nor did it in my brother's. So we had to make a family decision because of that, right? You who might go to business school to unravel that, that's some work that was named here. Another bit of work that mentioned, the same person said more practitioners of color. I had already made an observation earlier in there. When you get Dr. Hildreth, ask him about this. The number of Black American men in medicine, both number and percentage, is smaller than the number when he entered medical school almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
The numbers of the populations have gone up. The number of doctors have gone up. The number of Black men, and I want you, if you have an opportunity to watch this again, start counting. There are no Black male doctors pictured until the Philly piece, when the sister got everybody together and you saw them in passing. You following where I'm going? So another piece of work, K-12 educators are finding that Black boy with fire who's like trying to figure out why the worms are doing what they're doing and got a little head for math and science, because there is actually like a 25-year lag minimum to get that third grade boy into one of these white coats with a stethoscope that we're talking about. But that is also the work. Do you follow where I'm going? Yeah. So if we kind of go back again, and I love using documentaries when I teach, and I tell my students, watch it the first time, get your Kleenex and cry, and the second time read it like a text. So for those of you in graduate school, you know you read a paragraph and then you go back and read it again, right? The same thing, wind it back, time stamp it, and if you read this text for where is the work, I think that there are a list of answers that would sit well in any congregation with the plural gifts and graces that can come, because the work is everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what you're saying, because 2 weeks ago we showed this same documentary at Tennessee State University Wesley Foundation. And we expected 50 or 60 people. We wound up having 100 folks.
Right.
The room was tight. We had to bring chairs in. And there were maybe 40 black men, right? And when we walked in, I was taken aback because they were sitting around just, and they said, "Hey, Pastor Keith," and I didn't know them, but very well-mannered, intelligent, you know. It wasn't a surprise, but to see that many,
They're
right?
tigers.
And so, yeah, right. And so the heaviness in the room after the showing the film, and Chanda asked, "Who did this impact?" And folks had to stay later to get talked about. But with this documentary, they wanted to take it to medical professionals first and couldn't find an institution. I said they should have came to Meharry, right? I mean, because that's a recruiting tool too. To say, I know there's a track from Tennessee State to
Yeah.
Meharry.
Yes.
too.
To Meharry.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so you think
Started,
about
yeah.
that pipeline right there and how big that could become here in a city that's known for medical care, corporate, right? And how this could be a disruption of that system. So I think that's a large part of the work. And working with, HBCUs, historic civil rights organizations, the Black Church, and other people of goodwill. Noah was mentioned. They're doing some fantastic work here. Just continue to partner with people to put legs to our prayers so that when folks get up, they do have something very practical. We're doing a lot of voter education around these amendments, right? So people can really participate in civic engagement. We've had civics taken out of our schools for at least 2 generations now. So that's why people don't want the government in their Medicaid, because they don't just that kind of thing. So that public education and then plugging people in is what I see.
Thank you, Keith. And we're gonna ask Kelly, and I'm sorry, guys, but we are over our time. I actually have another question. I had questions for the audience. I had things I wanted to say,
Yeah.
and I was gonna sing.
Oh,
Okay. But,
Yeah.
okay, Kelly, we'll throw it to you.
so I'm gonna say this: force our elected officials in the state house to expand Medicaid. Like, there is money that millions of dollars every single year that our state legislatures are refusing to take. Like, it's free money, but refusing to take because you are upset that a black man was president and pushed legislation that was actually written by the GOP. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so and the way that you do that is that not just going to vote, but then holding your elected officials accountable and letting them know who you are and that I voted for you, but that doesn't mean I will vote for you again. I need you to do what you were elected to do. I think about it as a pastor, having conversations with members. Are you getting your mammogram? Are you going to your annual physical? Do you have a therapist? What is happening around mental health? I noticed that over the last 3 months, I have seen black folks in their 40s and early 50s dying.
Yes.
I've had too many either personal friends or friends of friends who just are and I've heard, I don't know, and this feels speculation. I don't know if it's long-term COVID or what that isolation has done, or that isolation or not being able to go to the doctor at that time, missing things. I don't know. But going to the doctor, taking care of our mental health, teaching on grief. One of the things that we've been doing with our youth at my congregation is talking about emotions and grief. And what was interesting at our last youth worship, we had someone come in and she's a therapist, and she talked about, instead of grief cycles, but like a grief ball, and picking different colors. And so one, draw your sadness, draw your anger, draw disappointment. And so where are you at in your grief? ball. And so the kids, which was great because the 5-year-olds were able to do it, but also the 40-year-olds were able to do it. And in the process of that, as we looked around the room, all of the children were sad, but like the adults were also like, oh, these are the things that I need to be working on. And so when we think about health disparities, not just our physical health, but also our mental health, and also the health of our relationships and the homes that we are in. And so being able to vote informed, I think back to those amendments. My worst fear each time I go vote is that I've gotten
Get it
everybody,
wrong.
and then something is on the ballot, I have no clue what's
Yes,
happening. And then I
yes.
feel the least informed, even. And so being an informed voter and understanding that. And then the other thing is, beyond that, considering running for office yourself. And being able to be a part of organizations that are willing to help teach you how to run, how to fundraise, in order to then be the change that you want to see as well.
Thank you, Kim. So several takeaways from the night. And Kelly made a powerful statement. Number one, there are over 700,000 people live in Tennessee who don't have basic health insurance. And a good start at improving health equity in Tennessee is ensuring that we have Medicaid expansion in Tennessee. We've got some advocacy tools that we're going to pass out tonight. Governor Lee and our legislators should not be able just to ignore
Right.
the lives of Tennesseans. That should not be so. Another takeaway is that we're all connected. You know, how many of us in here? We're gonna do open numbers. Have a family member or a close friend who has high blood pressure. Now look around. Diabetes. Heart disease.
I'm just keep my hand up.
Yeah, right.
How many people know somebody that didn't win their COVID battle? So we are intrinsically connected to one another, and you know, society has taught us that we are individuals out here, and everybody better get your own. But the reality is that we are all humans in this human race, fighting for survival of everybody.
Yes.
And we have a responsibility to make sure that our neighbors have access to affordable health care.
Yes.
We have a responsibility to make sure that we're having conversations like these with people that we can influence. We have a responsibility to make sure that we're educated voters. You know, we know that there are connections between voting and healthcare outcomes. Like, who knew that voting was
Right.
health?
Right.
You know, if Black Lives Matter.
No, since. I'm sorry. Not if, since.
No,
Since Black Lives Matter.
Well, I was going somewhere.
I'm sorry.
Let me get my-
We debate this. She and I debate this a lot.
I was on King, you put me on Jesse.
Uh-oh.
But because Black
Right,
Lives
right.
Matter, you know, Black health should matter.
Yeah.
And because we are all humans and we're all living in this same state, and if I'm bankrupt and I'm not eating, then somebody else's family is not. We are all connected. We have a responsibility to each other. So the biggest takeaway from this is, you know, we don't leave tonight thinking, oh, that Oprah documentary was really good. I heard some good stuff. I got a little angry, and rest on it. No, we go back. We have some QR codes. We encourage our neighbors to take action. We share the documentary. We find it on YouTube, and we share clips with other people. We are looking for opportunities to share this documentary widely across the state. We want to share it at every college campus, in every church,
Yes.
in every barber shop. You know, because we cannot live through another COVID-19 knowing what the impact is going to be in our BIPOC community. To do nothing is to plan again for millions of BIPOC people to die. We cannot do that. So let's give our panel a hand. Let's give our audience a hand. And thank you all so much for being here with us on tonight. In spite of the rain, our crowd is small, but our heart is large.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna call up
Reverend.
Sandria, Reverend Sandria. Reverend. To have a few words.
I'm good. No, this was so important and so necessary in that one thing about it, as long as we are still living, we all have health issues,
Yes. Come on.
regardless.
Yeah.
And so, and we all must go this way, regardless of economic status, regardless of race or religion. This is a path that we all must walk through. And so important, these discussions are so important, so it is our hope and our prayer that tonight you have been stirred, that you have been stirred to take action, that you have been stirred to take action about your health, about your family's health, about your friends' health, about your church members' health, and about the health of the community at large. And so we just thank the Tennessee Justice Centers for allowing us to partner with you all tonight to have this. God said otherwise with the weather, but we thank God for being able to provide this venue and to be on YouTube Live regarding this tonight, so that it is a discussion that people can go back to and resonate with. And so at any point in time, that we can still have these small group conversations about what it is that we need to do to move forward. So thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
allowing
Thank
us
you.
to be a part.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all panelists for an awesome job, and thank you all for coming out, and we pray that you will have a safe journey home. And please take action with the action steps that have been provided to us by the Tennessee Justice Center. But safe travels, everyone, and continue to keep Scarlett Bennett in mind, and we will certainly believe that in radical hospitality, and that hospitality is justice. Thank you all so much for coming out.